Good afternoon, everybody. I am going to review some more problems on factoring trinomials. We factored trinomials in class today, and instead of giving you some problems to suffer through, we're going to work a few together. So if I am going to factor a trinomial, the first thing that I'm going to do is if I have x squared minus 7x minus 30, I can ask myself, does it have a greatest common factor? Is there anything that goes into all three terms? And the answer in this case is no. And then I'm going to add my standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c. I have to do my puzzle because I can't really do anything with 3 terms, but I am awesome with 4 terms. So something plus something has to equal my b, and something times something has to equal my a times c. Once again, my b is the coefficient of the x, in this case negative 7, and my c and a are, the a is in front of the x squared, so in this case it's just going to be 1, and my c is my constant term out here. In this case it's going to be negative 30. And so my answer is negative 30. They have to multiply to give me negative 30 and add to give me negative 7. Some of you may already have the answer. Some of you maybe have no clue where to even start. Well, we know 1 times 30 is a possibility, but 1 plus negative 30 isn't going to give me negative 7. 2 times 15 gives me 30. And if I make either of those negative, it's still not going to give me negative 7. I can say 3 times 10 is 30. And actually, 10 minus 3 is 7. In this case, I want negative 7. So that means I'm going to have to make the 10 negative. I'm going to have negative 10 plus 3 gives me negative 7. And negative 10 times 3 gives me negative 30. This allows me, I know that negative 10 plus 3 equals negative 7. So negative 10x plus 3x equals negative 7x. And I can split this middle term. Negative 10x plus 3x. But I have to bring down my other. The x squared has to come down, and the minus 30 has to come down. From here, I'm going to group my first 2 and my second 2. My first 2 have a greatest common factor of, hopefully you said x. So I divide both terms by x, and it leaves me with x minus 10. My second 2 have a greatest common factor of 3. Hopefully you factored out a 3. And that gives me x minus 10. So my GCF between both of them is x minus 10. And what's left over is x plus 3. Here are my 2 binomials, which if I were to FOIL back together or box method back together, these are going to give me x squared minus 10x plus 3x minus 30, which is the same as x squared minus 7x minus 30. We simplify. If you're a box method, and I know some of us are strictly a box method, then you could have your x squared minus 10x plus 3x minus 30. One of your binomials, the GCF, is x, and then 3. And in this direction, our GCF would be x. And since this is negative, it touches a negative, so it's going to be negative 10. So the same two binomials, x plus 3 times x plus 10, are my answers. We need to factor another trinomial. What happens if I give you, let's see, I'm trying to find a good one. Y squared, oops, let's get another color. Y squared minus 17y plus 72. Does it have a greatest common factor? Right now we do not have a greatest common factor at all. We have it in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. So I have something plus something equals b, and something times something equals a times c. They add to give me my b, which is negative 17, and they multiply to give me my a, which is 1, times c, which is 72. I don't know all of the factors of 72. I could figure them out, but right now there's one that just pops out in my brain, and I hope it's popping out in yours. 72 is 8 times 7. And the thing, or sorry, I said 8 times 7, and I should have said 8 times 9. 8 times 9 is 72, and 8 and 9 is 17 if you add them together. I want a negative 17. So that means I'm going to have negative 8 and negative 9. Negative 8 plus negative 9 is negative 17. Negative 8 times negative 9 is positive because a negative times a negative, shout out to Zach, is a positive. And we have negative 8x plus negative 9x is going to be equal to negative 17x. So I can split my middle term. This becomes negative 8x, negative 9x. I keep my y squared, and I keep my 72. Now this is where some people get a little tricky. I like to put a plus right there to remind me that that negative has to go inside the parentheses. My first two have to have parentheses here, and my second two have to have parentheses. Excuse my bad handwriting this afternoon here. So my greatest common factor of the first two, well, I'm in trouble. I put x, but what should I have here? This should be a y. Sorry about that. I should have a y because we started with the y squared. So this is going to be 8y. That's kind of hard to see. Let me fix it. I would start over, but it's already 3 o'clock, and I have 2 little boys who are going to be here in just a second wanting to go home. So you're going to have to deal with my mistake. Sorry about that. So my greatest common factor is going to be a y. And when I factor that out, y squared divided by y is y. And negative 8y divided by y is negative 8. My greatest common factor of the second two, if I make it 9, then I'm going to be left with a negative y. But if I divide both of these by negative 9, negative divided by negative gives me a positive y. Positive 72 divided by negative 9 gives me that negative 8 I'm looking for. So here, my greatest common factor, one of them is 8y minus 8, and what's left over is the y minus 9. And if I FOIL those back together, that's going to give me an answer of y squared minus 17 plus 72, minus 17y plus 72. And we've got time for one more. Hopefully you are staying up there with me. I'm actually going to do something pretty new. We haven't done one like this. I'm going to give you an A that is not 1. I'm going to give you 5. Ooh, well, let me take that back. Let's find one that's not humongo. Let's do this one. If I have 3x squared plus 17x plus 10. This is perfect. It does not have a common factor. 3 doesn't go into all the terms. 17 doesn't go in. X doesn't go in. 10, 2, 5, not everything is divisible by one thing, so we need to split the middle term. It is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. Marcia, would you like to say hello in the video?
Hi, Miss Baker's pre-calculus class.
Oh, wrong one, algebra.
Miss Baker's algebra class.
All right, there we go. So, sorry, we had some company today. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So now we are going to say something plus something equals our B, and something times something equals our A times C. They add to give you 17, and they multiply. In this case, you got to be careful. My A is 3. My C is 10, so it's not just the last number. It's actually going to be 30. They multiply to give you 30. Well, this one's pretty easy. 30 is divisible by 2 and 15. So we can see that 2 and 15 are going to be my two factors. I started with the 3x squared. I split this 17 into 2x plus 15x. And I need to bring down my 3x squared and my 10. Aisha, there's somebody at the door, darling. So, if I have these two in the front together, and then these two at the end together, the two in the front have a greatest common factor of x. So if I factor out an x, that leaves me with 3x plus 2. If I look at the second two terms, my greatest common factor is a 5. They're both divisible by 5. When I factor out that 5, I'm once again left with 15 divided by 5, 3x plus 2. So my greatest common factor is 3x plus 2. And my other factor, which is left over, the x plus 5, will give me my final answer. If I were to FOIL these two back together, or box method, we would be up here. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and we will be factoring some more in class tomorrow. Goodbye.